If you love movie and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am The Wiz, and I'm here today to review the 1970 romantic drama love story starring Ellie MacGraw and Ryan O'Neal, directed by Arthur Hiller. There's really two reasons why I decided to choose this movie. The first was I was kind of looking to watch a romance to review with Kim, and then when she usurped my authority to say we're watching Jaws instead, I was like, okay, well, there you go. And the other thing was I actually was looking at the most money-making films ever adjusted for inflation, and this movie came up. It was like in the 10s and 20s, and I was stunned because like, wait a minute, this is one of the most money-making films of all time. Like, I knew what Love Story was, but I had no idea of how popular it was, and it is stunningly popular for its time. From what I read, it was the most money-making film in 1970, and one of the most money-making films in 71. It did what only few films like Titanic and Avatar did, which is basically, it was like a top 10 money-making film of 2 separate years, which I thought was stunning. So the other thing that's very strange about Love Story is that no one talks about it. It kind of reminds me of Avatar a little bit, where people don't really talk about Avatar as one of the best movies ever made until its sequel is coming out, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh my god, it's one of the best films ever made and the sequel is coming out. Like, yet no one talks about Love Story anymore, and I thought it would be an interesting thing to watch. So why don't we get down to the review? And here is the review of Love Story, directed by Arthur Hiller. So there's only one way to start this review. There are many mysteries in life, okay? Many mysteries that go unsolved. What's happening in the Bermuda Triangle? Where is Amelia Earhart? Who shot JFK? How was Stonehenge built? And I think the fifth one is going to be, how the hell did Love Story make so much damn money? This movie's terrible. I honestly was watching this movie and saying to myself, how did this happen? And I talked to my mom about this too. I think I'll have to do more research on this, but she seems to think it became so popular because there wasn't many romance films going on around that time that were, I guess, popular or everything. I think another reason is that the two leads are incredibly attractive people. That's another thing. And apparently most of the audience, if not all of it, were girls and young women. And because the film was so short, it's about 90 minutes, mercifully 90 minutes, it had more and more screenings, which led it to make more and more money as time went on. But even considering that, Love Story is a bland, lifeless film that honestly has so many problems. Not even going from the writing, but also to the performances and the way that it's edited, to the music that it's chosen. This movie is a mess. It is an ugly mess. So let's get started. Oh, God. Before we get to the review, I am not having a spoiler section, and the main reason why is because, honestly, the film tells you what happens in the beginning of the film. Like, the very first minute of the film is basically the main male character saying, how do you talk about a 24-year-old woman that you love who died? I can't exactly spoil that for you because they say it in the first 30 seconds. So at that point, the dramatic tension to what happens in the film ends right there, because they tell you right up Front Street, oh yeah, by the way, the girl dies. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I guess. So apparently that was also part of the book, but honestly, not that anything would have really saved this movie for me, but I really found it weird that they came right out and just said it. So, okay, so the main performances of the film are Ellie MacGraw and Ryan O'Neal, both who got nominated for Oscars, both got a whole bunch of acclaim, and I think Ryan O'Neal got catapulted into superstardom after this movie, which led him to do a movie with Stanley Kubrick, which is my favorite of Stanley Kubrick's, called Barry Lyndon. So he got lucky on that one, but I gotta tell you, these performances are bad. They're really bad. In defense with O'Neal and MacGraw in this film, these characters are written so badly that it's hard to even measure what exactly their character is in this. The most I can give you as a character when it comes to either character, either Ellie MacGraw's Jennifer or Ryan's Oliver, is that Oliver is a rich guy and Jennifer is a poor girl who says some slightly sarcastic comments here and there. And that is it, really. That's it. That's all their personality is. There isn't a consistency to other elements of the film. So when you do romance films, some of the best romance films, there is a simplicity to how it starts. But the film is supposed to peel back layers and layers of the personalities of each character so you get invested in them and then get invested in their romance to the point where you want them to be attached. The problem with this film is that the film decides right away that the courtship is going to last 3 minutes, maybe 5. Maybe 10. We'll say 10 minutes. That's it. They meet in a library. I think Jennifer is a librarian. Oliver is just a student. They have a tit for tat, and then somehow in that scene they end up getting coffee together, and then they fall in love. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of when it went, and it's weird. The film tries to make these characters seem kind of goofy and maybe a little smarmy and endearing or charismatic in a goofy way, and neither actor can do it, especially Ali MacGraw. I don't want to say she can't act, because I don't think that's really the case, because honestly, with the script that was given to them, I don't know who could make these characters good. Both actors, I just did not do such a great job in this. But again, if we really want to get down to it, I think the writing is the worst part of this movie. But anyway, let's move forward here. Ryan O'Neal, he's the guy essentially you want to feel bad for at the end of the film, and I just did not care. He comes off as entitled and whiny and never really changes at that point. And yeah, that's probably his character. He's a rich, spoiled kid who basically resents his father for who he is and what he how he treats him, which, okay, sure, not done to death. But that's about it, really. And then Ali MacGraw, I mean, I think Jennifer is supposed to be like this perfect kind of woman. Not even really. I don't even know what they were trying to do with this one. I mean, I think they were trying to make her this perfect woman that is funny and intelligent, but knows the best ways to make her man happy, which still doesn't really work because there's really not much of a character there. I will say this. Both characters are incredibly bland. I mean, bland. I'm actually struggling to give you personality traits, and without resorting to like preppy and poor girl, rich guy, because there really isn't much there, really, with any of these characters. And the two characters, Jennifer and Oliver, are the ones that you're seeing all the time. And the fact that I'm struggling to come up with a personality trait for either of them really shows the problem in this movie. Let's move on to writing. I think the writing is probably the worst things about this movie. The dialogue is stale. I think that's the big problem I have with the writing is the dialogue is very direct. Most times with romance films, it's not what is said, but what is not said. It's how a character reacts. It is how they interpret certain things that happens in the scene. But this film is very on Front Street, very direct. You know what it really feels like to me? It's like someone took a template for a basic romance and gave it to an exercise to a writer who doesn't know how to write movies and say, use this as a template to give you the basics, and then build your way up from there. And they didn't build it up from there. They just said, I like it the way it is right now. And that's the movie. Here's how the film is structured, okay? So, first 10 minutes is the courtship. Within 30 minutes, they realize they're in love with each other. Within a half of the film, they're married. Next 15 to 20 minutes, they are living together. And they're going through wedded bliss and struggling to get by. And then, spoiler alert, like nothing that fucking matters. And then in the last 30, Jennifer's dying. And let me tell you something. What makes something like this work, again, are the details. And there is no detail at all to this movie. And I think it really exemplifies itself in two sequences. First is when Oliver finds out that his wife is dying. At no point does the film hint, except for the end, for the beginning when they say it straight up to you. When it was revealed that she is dying, and you don't really find out what the disease is, I believe it's leukemia, but when they find out she is dying, it is literally conversation with Oliver and a doctor. That's it. That's all it is. It is just, oh yeah, by the way, your wife is dying. Like, that is how you're going to announce it. That's how you're going to get the big reveal here. I mean, because this is what sets the third act up. And it is just, yeah, by the way, bro, she's dying. Okay, what do? I don't know, make her happy? I just make people well. I don't know what happens when they die. Whatever. Like, what the hell? Just for like a drama in this sense, it just really saps anything out of it. And then the other issue that I have, especially in the end when Jenny is quote unquote dying, is you can't tell she's dying. I swear to God, Ali MacGraw looks much prettier when she's dying than when she is actually living. How does that work? The final scene where Ali MacGraw is in bed and she is about to die, she looks stunning. Absolutely stunning. And that's what confused me about that scene, because I was watching it, I guess she's about to die. And then I think what happens is her father says, I didn't have the heart to tell you that she was going to die there. And I'm like, wait a minute. She just died now? And then when Oliver says to his father, oh, she's dead now. I mean, I don't need your help. Wait, what? Oh, God. Oh, my God. Like, I do get annoyed when movies do the stereotypical thing from beginning to end. But sometimes it's the best thing you can do when your writing is that bad. Sometimes you have to do it. And I think this film needed to do it. Because the way that they did this was so bad. Oh my God. Why? Okay. I need to. Okay. The bad dialogue is personified with, I think, what is the line of the film, which, if I recall correctly, is love is never saying you're sorry. That is the stupidest line, especially when it comes out, when Oliver is being an obnoxious dick to her, and she runs away, he runs after her, can't find her, he finally comes home, and she's sitting right there crying, and he apologizes, and she says, love is never saying you're sorry, and I'm like, lady, that is the time you fucking say you're sorry. Like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? Oh, God. Okay. All right. Okay. So, dialogue, the way the film is structured, the plot, awful. Like, I cannot believe how bad this is. And direction. Someone needs to explain to me two things that they did here that I don't understand. One, I think the editing is awful in this movie. They do these editing parts where it kind of transitions into another scene, but it like stops halfway, or there are certain scenes where it's like they zoom in and like, oh God, the editing is just noticeably bad in this movie. And then I will say this, I like the music in this movie. It won an Oscar for Best Score. It does not fit with this movie at all. Like, the score, as nice as it is, just does not fit well with this. But let's get into just the overall direction of the film. I mean, what can you do? Really, what can you do with this? This film first half is saccharine and sweet to a point that is sickening. It's like you're eating something that's really sweet and you kind of want to throw up. That always felt odd. Like, these young adults were acting like they were 14, 15. Like throwing snow at each other and eating snow, and they're running, and oh my God, like, oh my fucking God, stop, please. Like, oh my good Lord. It was so bad. And then when the film makes the hard right into when Jennifer is dying, it gets so grim and it gets so downtrodden and downbeaten. It's just like, okay, like it honestly, to me, felt like the direction was, let's do the most as possible. Let's just do as much as possible, and hopefully they'll get it. And it just was like, oh my God, I'm having a fucking headache here. If you can't tell, I hate this movie. I think it's terrible. I think it was just, oh my God. Ugh. So, final thoughts? Okay, final thoughts on Love Story. If the only thing I can say nice about it is that it is short, that is saying something. I don't think I have watched the film that I honestly sat here watching it and going, I cannot believe how popular this was. I have my thing where most overrated films like The Dark Knight, Shawshank Redemption, but I can say they're good films. So I understand why people like them. I just think they're overrated. That's different than this. This is one of the most money-making films of all time. And I've watched Lifetime films better than this. It is awful in so many ways. I think the best way I can put it is it does the most and you get nothing in return. It is really one of the worst romance films I think I've seen in a long time. Honestly, I want to dog the performances because I think they're bad, but I think it was really the writing that was just awful in this. I think it was just absolutely terrible. If you haven't guessed, I'm giving it a 0.5 star out of 5. The only reason why I'm not giving it a 0 is because on Letterboxd, I can't give it a 0 star, so it gets a 0.5 star. I almost want to say to some people, if you're really curious about it, watch it. Just so we can have this collective feeling of how this made so much money. How? Because I don't want to feel alone on this. I feel alone right now. I really do. I feel like I'm being misunderstood, or I'm being gaslit into thinking that this was supposed to be some amazing movie, and it is some of the worst things I've ever seen. I feel abused. I feel abused. I don't think I've felt abused so much from a movie before. It's like, oh God, I feel so, I feel dirty. This is terrible. 0.5 star out of 5 from me for Love Story. Oh God, I'm so glad this is over. All right, so that was full of venom. I understand that. But I want to leave this review with one thing. I mean, you may be interested in a movie like this, and I'm going to tell you right now, don't watch this movie. However, if something about this movie does interest you and you want to watch a movie like this, there is a movie that came out in the past 10 years. It's a teen drama, but is actually pretty good. That I think does a better job of doing this type of story than Love Story did. And it's a movie called The Fault in Our Stars. I know that some of you are aware that it's a young adult novel, and it's really geared towards teens. But I gotta be honest with you, I actually liked The Fault in Our Stars quite a bit, and I thought that was actually a very good movie. So if what you're hearing about the story in its basics is something you're interested in, I would say pick up that movie and watch it. Pick up The Fault in Our Stars and just skip Love Story entirely. Do yourself that favor. So if there's anything I can give to you, watch The Fault in Our Stars. Okay, let's get into the next review for next week. We're going to do Halloween movies, scary movies, spine-tingling movies. You know, the movies I don't like. After this shit show, I kind of want to watch something that I've heard is actually really good. And, you know, I like older movies, and I'm a Criterion Collection fan, and I was curious about this movie, so I'm going to check this out. And this is Kaneto Shindo's Kuroneko from 1968. This is a ghost story set in Japan. I kind of wish that Zero was able to watch this, but this always looked pretty good to me. If you look it up on IMDb, it's called Black Cat. But if you go on the Criterion, it's Kuroneko. Kuroneko. So if you are interested in that, watch it with me for next week. So tune in next week where I review Kuroneko, directed by Kaneto Shindo. I am The Wiz, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.